welcome to the first episode of Quilting with Don. I'm Don for 2023. Before I even get going on what's going to go on, I gotta say, I do YouTube videos for fun, for shits and giggles, and I do videos with bagpiping. I play the bagpipes, scuba diving. I scuba dive, camping. I like to drink beer, and I've done a series of videos on beer tasting. But the point is, I get some people to watch it. Again, I do it for me. But the number of folks that have actually clicked on the season opener for Quilting with Don is just blowing me away. So hey, if you're one of those folks, cool, thank you. All right, enough of that mutual adoration, as it were. I got the blues and the purples and the greens and the oranges, all from Northcott, and it's their Stonehenge series. And then there's my backing. It's hard to see in this light, but it's actually got a similar texture to the other ones. So if you recall from the season opener, the Stonehenge, Vista boxes is what I'm doing. So I'll put it up on the screen again, but it's this pattern. This pattern is a very well thought out pattern. So if you're interested in doing this yourself, I'd say go out and get it, because it makes sense. I am not a quilter by nature. But I have fun with the challenges. And this pattern is Don proof, or at least Don resistant. I get it. It's dumbed down enough. Yet it's actually relatively simple that it makes sense. So how you do this is with triangles. If you can sew triangles, you got it made. If you have never sewed triangles, learn with me, because I never have either until I did my test ones. So the key component for sewing triangles is this equilateral triangle template. And it has along the top a flat spot, and then it's an equilateral triangle, and it's got lines to help you align for the various sizes of strip that you're doing. So the process is relatively straightforward in that it's only 2 steps. You cut your 4-inch strips from your fabric, and then you take that strip and you cut out the triangles. I'll show you how that works once we get going. So the thing though is how you sew the strips. I'm gonna lay these triangles out to show you how they work. I've got some samples here that I pre-cut as part of my my trial. So check this out. You can see each triangle has a flat end, and you alternate them back and forth. And then when it's time to sew them, you're going to sew along this line here. So you're going to flip the triangle up like that so that the pointy bits here line up, and then the other side line up, and then you're going to have these little dog ears at the bottoms. You sew it, you open it. It's the same here. So they recommend you sew in pairs, and then take your pairs and put them into 4s and so on. So that's the basics of how this is built. Of course, the tricky part then is to make sure you sequence the colors to give you the pattern that you see in the Vista boxes picture. So that is the technique. It really involves a ruler for cutting your strips, which I'm going to do next, and this triangle. The other thing I did in preparation for this project, I counted the number of each color in each row. So, for example, the very first row is going to have, and I coded it so I would know, the very first row is going to have 22 of the background, then 1 of the light blue, then 16 of the dark blue, and then 5 more of the background. And I did the same thing for every row of the 18 rows there are in this pattern. Also, that reminds me, each row has 44 triangles. So here's why this is not going to be not going to be done in a day. There's a total of 792 triangles I'm going to have in this quilt, in this pattern. So it's going to be a lot of cutting. All right, so I just ironed my first yard of fabric, and it's the indigo blue Stonehenge. It's gorgeous. Now, I forgot to mention, and I'm just going to point this out now, this guide is also pretty cool because it tells you how many strips you need for the size of quilt you're doing. I'm doing 4-inch strips, so I'm doing the larger of the 2 sizes the pattern offers, and I guess that just brings up the point. For if you're using 3-inch strips, the finished size of your quilt, of your top, is 45 inches by 58 inches. If you're doing 4-inch strips like I'm doing, because I wanted it a bit bigger, it's 63 inches by 80 inches. And this tells you how many strips you're going to cut to get the number of triangles you need for the pattern. And in this particular case, for the dark blue, I need 5 strips to give me 60 triangles. So I'm going to be making 60 triangles with this blue. Now that let the games begin. So I ironed it out and folded it in half. Now I'm going to true up the first edge and then start cutting 4 strips. A cool trick that Carolyn showed me is to hold down your ruler with something heavy. And we've got these antique irons. They are heavy. So now I'm just going to make sure that this ruler is lined up where the bottom line is very nicely lined up with the fabric. And it gives me a nice true edge. And I'll cut it. One cut. Right, you guys are gonna laugh because I just had a good chuckle. I just realized, I'm starting to do this, that I was working from the wrong end. I started on the right hand side. No, because I'm looking at my ruler and saying, how am I gonna get this, how am I gonna measure 4 inches? And I have to start on the left hand side. So, same idea. I just had Carolyn down here because I was gonna cut the other end of the fabric. She said, just flip it. So I just did. I just flipped it, and now I've got the edge I've already cut on the left-hand side, chewed it all up. Now I start doing 4-inch seams, or cuts. And 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And there we have 5 with the fabric strips of 4 inches each. Now the magic starts with the triangles, where we use the triangle piece. So I'm going to show you how it works. Right. So as you can see here, I've placed the triangle onto the fabric. A little hard to see, right? The idea is to line up the flat part of the triangle with the top of the fabric, like that. And then you'll see right away that on this particular triangle, there's the 4-inch line is solid, is on the bottom. So you can make sure you've got the triangle squared on the strip, so that you're cutting true equilateral triangles, and you get a little flat thing at the top. And then you cut one, and you go to the next one, you flip it, and you cut the next one. And you work your way down. Okay. So that's the theory. That's how it's going to work. So let's do it. Carolyn also took the liberty of putting these little grippy things on my triangle so that it doesn't slide around too easily on the fabric. Alright, well that's pretty cool. So I did my first ones. They all seem to be pretty even and identical. One strip made 15 triangles, so that's not bad. So clearly when they say you need 5 strips, because, well, theoretically you could get it with 4 strips to get 60 triangles. Alright, I just actually figured, you know what, if you can fold over your fabric on itself when you're making strips, why can't you fold your strip over on itself for the triangles? So I tried it and it worked. It cut the time in half of making 15 triangles, so I'll keep going. All right, I've blasted through 60 triangles and it turned out to be surprisingly quick using this handy dandy thing and doing it with the fabric folded over on itself, so you're cutting 2 triangles at a time. So that was awesome. Now, I already had I'm hoping it's a good idea. It's always one of those, is it a good idea or not? Well, what I'm going to do now is organize all my packages. See, now I've got, I think, all the dark blue triangles I need for the quote. So I've got a bundle here of 60. I'm going to put them in a Ziploc bag and mark it with the color. Did I mention I'm a little colorblind? Well, I'm moving right along here. I've done all the blues, all the blue fabrics, and that's about 160 triangles I've made so far, and it's taken me, actually I didn't look what time I started, but let's say an hour. That's not bad. Wobber says I needed a cat break. Hey, Wobbs. Oh, it's voices. Oh, it's voices. It's voices. Am I doing it wrong? Am I doing it wrong? Oh. What are you trying to do? Oh, it's fabric. It's fabric, you silly kitten. Fabric. I have to open this. I do have to open this. Oh. Quick update, it's now 6:30 at night. I've had a pretty good day of cutting fabric. I think it started around 2 o'clock. So you can probably, hopefully you can see it in front of you here, but just in case it doesn't show up, I'll show you. So what I've done here is I've bagged all of my triangles and coated them, or at least, labeled them so I know which is which. So when it comes time to actually start laying it up on the board here, I know exactly which colors I've got and go from there. So there's no mistakes because of my perhaps lack of color discrimination. Yeah. I also think I earned a bit of a reward for all the cutting I did, and I think it went really well. Well, I guess truth will be told when I start sewing to see how well they're cut, but I think I did pretty good. So I'm having a sweater weather. It's a local island from Vancouver Island beer. It's delicious. Already had one of these or a few of these before. So, cheers. Yeah, good day. This is now day 2 of this episode. Last night after I had my wee beer, after dinner in fact, I finished cutting all the colored triangles. And then today, I was scuba diving this morning. I'll even show you a wee glimmer of what it is like to dive around here in the Neuse Bay. Came home, took care of a couple errands, and then proceeded to cut 260 of these white triangles. I have taken the liberty of laying out some of the colors based on the pattern. And what I'm going to show you in a sec here is the left hand top corner of the green box. So you can see it on the screen there where I'm going to show you. Now check this out. Here it is. Here's what it looks like. So I'm going to see if I can hang onto the phone and point. So you can see here the top corner of the upper surface of the box. Down here with the darker green, and across here is the facing edge to the left, and then here is then with the medium green is the facing edge to the right, as well as right there. So you get the 3 shades of green and the background above and below to show you the relief, and that's give you an image when it's sewed. You're going to start seeing the 3D boxes come together, so that's pretty cool. Because I went scuba diving this morning, I thought I'd show you a couple little scenes here. So what did you think? Was that cool underwater stuff? There's lots more of that, of course, on Diving with Don. You don't see much of me underwater because I got the camera, or one of them anyway. So, but yeah, if you're interested at all, you can see that's also on my channel. Nevertheless, we're here to do quilting. This brings to a close the first episode. I have met the aim. I have cut all of the fabric. And a lot of fabric was cut, let me tell you. This quilt behind me was 120 pieces. What I'm doing now is 792 pieces before I even talk about borders and things. So you get the idea how much more cutting was involved with these triangles. But I think the triangles look very uniform in size, and I'm having high hopes that when I sew them, as long as I sew even 1/4 inch seams, they should line up and I should get good points. That's the theory. Stay tuned for the next episode to see if my theory is correct. You guys, y'all have a great one, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.